Morning, everyone. Norm here. Gonna go over a review of my match with Flagrant Angles. Um, I think before we get into the actual match footage, real quick, we should probably talk about Quince. Um, and the reason is there's a lot to kind of discuss as part of the match itself. Flagrant Angles plays Quince and is basically playing just Quince all the way straight through. So I knew what I was going to have as far as the matchup was concerned. And Quince can be a tough character to play against if you don't know the matchup, doesn't matter whatever character you play. And that's because he's a character that is going to really punish you for not understanding how the matchup works. And it's very easy for them to put you in a situation that's frustrating or confusing. Really, the character is designed around confusing you. And it's just really easy to get lost in all that. And I think one of the key parts of the matchup, outside of speeds and options and all this other stuff, is to have a really good understanding of how he confuses you, and to not get confused by that. It sounds kind of abstract, but it'll kind of make sense as we go through it. So really, this is also kind of a little bit of how does Quince work? Kind of like a little Quince introduction. I don't want to go too in depth, but in order to kind of really review and understand the review of the match, you really have to understand Quince. So let's kind of look at the basics of Quince to start with. He's a dodge heavy character. First of all, he has 5 ranks of dodges, which is one of the highest in the game. I think it's tied for highest, if I'm not mistaken. His attacks and throws are pretty slow, and just in general, his attacks are slow. His fastest attack is 1.2, so it's very, very slow. But how he wins is by really adding confusion, like I said. And the way this happens most of the time is through positive spin, his innate, and Patriot mirror, one of sides of his ace. So let's talk about those. And these are the things I'm going to really talk in detail. Positive spin, we'll just read it real quick. At the end of the turn, if you deal damage or block damage to your opponent, you reveal a face card from your hand. If you combat reveal that card next turn, you may draw a card and rotate it 180 degrees. So the first thing is, if he deals any kind of damage, and that includes chip damage, he gets to activate this. When he activates it, he's going to reveal one of these 3 face cards, and we'll get into what that kind of means. And then if he does, on the next combat reveal, you can draw a card and spin it to use the other side. So really, if you look at his face cards, they're very special in the sense that both sides offer 2 different options, and those options are very opposites as far as the option, the RPS. So, it's a very interesting ability, and each card has kind of sets up a different mix-up when they show it. So it's something that this is where a lot of the confusion could definitely lie. The other card that really merits that adds to that is Patriot Mirror, is Ace. It reads very similarly. If you deal damage or block damage with Patriot Mirror specifically, you can play a second face down card in next combat instead of using positive spin. So what happens with a Patriot Mirror, because you've done damage or block damage, you will activate positive spin because it's just like anything else. So you could show a face card, but it also gives you an option of instead using the Patriot Mirror bonus, which is to play 2 face down cards. It's almost a juiced up version of of positive spin, because it can play any 2 cards on any side, and there's no kind of indication of the mix-up, because with positive spin you have to reveal the card that you want to mix up with, and I'll get in the mix-ups in a minute with positive spin. Patriot Mirror to both face down, you have no precursor, you're just going to have to figure it out. So it's very difficult. And the other thing is too is Patriot Mirror does a knockdown, so if you do get hit by it, I mean, chip damage would still go off, but if you get knocked down, one of your options is limited because you can no longer dodge, because you can't dodge off a knockdown. So it's really, really dangerous. situations. And this is where a lot of the frustration is, because now you're playing Quince's game, and chances are you can't play anything from your own game plan. And this kind of thing can just repeat over and over and over, because every time it does damage to you, if he's successful with these mix-ups, he gets to do it again. So it can be very frustrating. So you got to kind of keep your head in this matchup. So let's talk about real quick about the way the positive spin mix-up works with these three options. So we'll just kind of go left to right here. So if on a positive spin, Quince reveals a jack, his options are attack and dodge. What beats those options? Both of those options. Well, block or dodge. I would assume a block here, because a dodge you would lose the card. A block you would at least get the card back. Because if you do block, obviously it beats the dodge. If he spins over to the attack, it'll block the attack. The only thing that's annoying about that is that if he does hit you with the attack, it will do chip damage, therefore putting you in another positive spin situation. But block is the safest option, because we'll just kind of run through it real quick. If you try to throw, you can spin it to the attack side, beating the throw. If you attack, you can spin it to the dodge side to beat the attack. So that's the jack. Now, knowing that you could play block to deal with that, his mix-up is he could throw. So his mix-up is to play jack again for the positive spin, or throw, meaning that that puts you in a situation of, well, I can try to block the jack, or I can attack to do a throw. So there's a little bit of extra layers there. So already there's like that added confusion where, okay, so what's my option here? My option here is the block. He knows that. So he might throw. And if he does that, maybe I want to play an attack here. But if I play attack, I'm going to lose to the jack. So it's a very 50-50 kind of situation. And you have to play the correct option, because if you play a throw here, that kind of is not really a great option in a lot of ways. I mean, you could play a faster throw than his throw, but I guess that opens up another option. But let's not get too crazy here with all the options. And I'm going to, as we review this match, I'm going to have this little thing here to kind of, go make sure that we remind what the options are. Okay, so let's go with the Q. The Q is a throw and an attack, and it's a very slow attack. So you can, to fight the Q, if they reveal Q, you can do any kind of faster attack. You may want to do a faster attack that is faster than at least Patriot Mirror or his jack, so something that's faster than 2.6 if you have it. Just to beat those options. I mean, if you get hit with Cassandra the Governed, his double ace side, well, that's sucks for you, but I wouldn't really try to spend faster than 1.2 options here. You could. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not necessary, especially if he just plays the Q. But anyways, you play a faster attack. It'll beat both sides. So because you're playing attack, his response is to mix this up with a dodge, because of all of his dodges and everything. Basically, all he wants to do with the dodges is set up another Patriot Mirror for the most part. And usually it comes in the form of a throw, because it puts you in a knockdown situation. Or if he's got extra Qs, which deal a significant amount of damage, 12 damage and knockdown, or Patriot Mirror, 10 damage and knockdown, plus the Patriot Mirror. So he's got a lot of good options off of dodges. So that will really put you back into the blender. So to beat the dodge option, you'd have to throw, which of course plays into the option of spinning into the attack. So again, his options, just to kind of clarify, is a Q or dodge. And your options is to attack the Q or throw the potential dodge. Those are your options. And then with King, he has the option of throw and dodge. How you beat both of those sides is you do a throw that is faster than 9.0 to clash, to beat out his slower throw and to beat his dodge. The way he deals with that is to attack your potential throw attempt. And how you deal with that? Well, you can block or dodge, depending on how you feel. This side is also kind of a dangerous side, because you can because it's a dodge. He can dodge into, good damage and a knockdown, and reset up Patriot's another positive spin or Patriot mirror. So those are his options on Patriot mirror, and it already sounds very confusing. And you just kind of have to kind of remember what each one is. It's kind of easy to, not easy. I want to use the term easy. If you can't kind of remember or recall, just think about it for a second before you pick your option. Hey, how do I beat both sides of the jack? Oh, I can block. How do I beat both sides of this? Oh, I can attack. How do I beat both sides of this? Oh, I can throw. Right. And when you play against a Quince, a lot of times what you want to do is you want to play positive spin very straightforwardly. You want to kind of force them to start using their other options. And what I mean play straightforwardly is like if they review a king, play it as if they're going to play the king. Try not to overthink the situation. Wait for them to kind of wait for them to say, hey, I'm going to play this off option. And if they start doing that, then you start need to think about those options. But really, you should probably try to play these very straightforwardly at the start to kind of get an idea of where they're at. Because again, Quince is going to put you in a situation that's confusing and is looking to capitalize on your mistakes. And to kind of overplay their other option, I think is a mistake. And again, what I mean by that is we'll just use the king for the example. They reveal a king. If you're not throwing a lot in that situation, I think you're making a mistake. You should play against a normally played positive spin more than playing against the option they might do to beat the option that will beat their positive spin option. So in this case, with a king, your option here is to throw. Their option to beat that is an attack. They're still going to play the king more often than they're going to play the attack. And in the situation where they play the attack, tends to not be a lot of damage unless they get really, really ballsy and play something like a Righteous Zeal, which can deal a ton of damage. So, I mean, there is risk there, but I would say lean towards playing against the positive spin versus their option to beat your option in this situation. Anyways, all right, let's kind of move on here. Patriot mirror is a lot more difficult to talk about, and I think we have to talk about that on case-by-case basis, so I'm really not going to get into that. Really quick, let's just go over Quince's two other abilities to kind of round things out, his confusion points here. Flagstone tax on his 10. You can choose attack, block, throw, or dodge. If the opponent combat reveals that option this turn, draw 2 cards. This gets really popular to play during positive spins. And again, let's just use the king for the example here. So he gets a positive spin opportunity, shows a king, and then after that is going to play a flagstone tax against throw, because throw is the option that's going to beat the king. Meaning that if you're going to throw and beat his option, then you're going to give him 2 cards as kind of compensation. And what gets kind of nutty here is you can put the throw and then decide to attack and not use the king action, and then you threw, giving him 2 cards, and he beat your throw option. That's like the worst case scenario possible. So flagstone tax adds that kind of extra layer of, well, maybe I don't want to throw here. Maybe I just want to, I don't want to give him the 2 cards. Well, my own personal take on this is, while yes, feeling his hand is not great for you, I feel like it adds an extra layer to overthink and again make a mistake. So I tend to ignore flagstone tax. That isn't to say that you shouldn't think about it in your decision. I just wouldn't weigh it very heavily. 2 cards is not nothing to sneeze at, and really it's adding 1 card because he's using a card to draw 2. So honestly, it's one of those things where don't think too heavily about it. Just really play the positive spin moment. And in some cases, you can use the flagstone tax as kind of an extra part of the read, because a lot of times when they play flagstone tax, they're either going to, depending on how you play it, if you're a person that doesn't care about it, this might be a time that they're going to play attack more often because they know you're going to play a throw and play through it. So they want to really punish it. Or if you've been playing very passive against a flagstone tax and not using the option, they know you're not going to use the option of playing the flagstone tax. So they're going to play something that beats your other options. Like, you got to have to kind of pay attention of how you're playing against the flagstone tax and how they react into it. But again, try not to overthink it too much because while, yeah, giving him more cards, you're really in actuality only giving him one more card in hand. He's just cycling through his deck a little bit more. And honestly, he's going to recurse his options quite regularly. So I don't feel like giving him the 2 cards is really that big of a deal. So I try not to let that get too much in my way. And the reason why he gets the recurse options is with 2 truths, where he chooses 3 cards in his discard pile and then draws 2 cards from the top of the deck. He arranges the cards into 2 piles, and then you have to give the piles. This, again, can cause some mistakes. You may give him the wrong card at the wrong time. That becomes bad for you. We'll have to look at these at a case-by-case basis. But again, try to not let this get too confusing. Try to not let it tilt you in any kind of way about, oh, it gets these really good options back and everything else. It's going to happen. You have to understand it's going to happen. You just have to kind of look at each 2 truths on a case-by-case. Think about it. Take your time. Give them a pile, and then kind of move on. Okay, I think I talked about Quince enough to kind of go through the match. The thing that I should talk about is my character choice in this matchup, Midori. Now, I did play it somewhat because I knew he was playing Quince, and this is a decent matchup, but also because, let me bring this over here as our kind of reference point, and I hope people can see this. I know it's a little analog here, but I just wanted to at least have some sort of reference here for everybody. Midori is a character that I've been actually practicing a lot, and it's a character that I really like. I do gravitate towards grapplers and fighting games as such. Yomi is a kind of a analog for fighting games, so therefore I really like playing the grappler characters. And Midori, I think, is the most interesting. Rook is, well, I'd say Trock is the most straightforward and also is extremely good. Rook, I think, has some hypeness with him, and has a very straightforward playstyle. Midori has a little bit more. I think it just has a little bit more to him, and actually has more attacks that are useful than the other. The others are kind of used as kind of like to stuff opponents' attempts to do certain things, whereas Midori actually has legitimately good attacks to mix in with his good throws. His throws are a little bit weaker in general than the other grapplers, but it's still a grappler, so I'm happy. I look at him as kind of like an E-Honda analog. He's got a decent throw. I just realized this is gonna fall off when okay, I'll bring this up when I'll bring this up when we need it. So okay. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get started here. So my hand here is not great. I have 3 king throws. If you don't know how the Midori works, real quick, his face cards basically have a human form side and a dragon form side. You can't play the dragon form side when not in dragon form. And typically, other than the jack, you really don't want to play them unless you have the ability to flip them. You can. It's not like you shouldn't do it. There isn't times to do it, but it's not great. And especially early on in the match, you should really look to hold on to these for dragon form if you can possibly help it. So I have 3 kings, which means, and a joker, which means more than half my cards are not really useful for first turn. Meaning here my options are a throw, this block, or a jack to kind of beat his options. Jack is really good here because, like we said before, Quince has really slow options, and it beats every single one of his options except for his AA, his consent of the governed. So this is a really good card in this matchup, even on the non-dragon form side. But given the relative weakness of my hand, I want to block right away. And Flagrant showed that he's willing to throw on turn 1. Now, that could mean a couple different things. It means A, he's looking to just get a positive spin mix going. It also could be that, because I'm playing a grappler, he's willing to kind of, and know that I'm probably willing to down back quite a bit. He just wants to kind of get some early damage and some like poke damage. I think in this case, it kind of depends on what he reveals for the positive spin. He reveals a queen, which is, not a bad reveal. So just kind of go here. So his option here is to play the queen or dodge, really, versus my attack to beat his queen or a throw to beat his dodge. Now, I'm also knocked down. So that's, I have no dodge option. I have no dodges in hand anyways, but that does shut that off. And like we said earlier, with Flagstone Tax, he plays the attack side because attack is what beats his queen. So if I do that, I'm going to be giving him 2 cards in the process. I don't think... So here's a spot where I do think he's going to play his queen straightforwardly. And strangely, it actually makes a good time to gold burst because both sides of the queen is one side's an attack, one side's a throw, and they both lose to Joker. It may be kind of a weird use of my Joker early on, but I didn't really feel like giving him 2 cards this early because his hand size is relatively small. And this is the only way to do it, to beat the queen and also not give him cards in this setup. So he does still get to get a card back from the positive spin. And that's one thing that'll happen, is that if both his options gets beat, he's still going to spin and replenish that card. So now I have an early 20 in my hand. Really, I can look to build this for a Final Dragon Buster. I could pitch the two kings to get the 4th ace when I get a dragon form available. Or just a dragon form available. But again, my hand is pretty bad for what I have. But he's also been showing kind of a tendency to throw. And he's been somewhat aggressive in the early round. So I kind of figured his hand had some gas in it, even being kind of small as it was. So I decided to go ahead and give a throw there. I don't really have a good follow-up with that, and that's fine. I don't mind leaving him knocked down so he can't dodge. We get another J. So our options are even more limited than we were before. So I go ahead and block here because of how bad our options are. He also blocks as well. But now we at least have a throw, a base throw here in our hands. So now we have at least a block throw option. Either is fine, I think, in this situation. We go with the throw, and which ends up being the right read. My read was actually a block there, but this works just as well. Because I have the Jack Ender, I go ahead and put it in here for damage. I'm not really holding on to those for anything. I was talking earlier about how these are really good attacks if I really want to play an attack range at some point, because it beats almost every single one of his options except for double ace. But I have a fast option in my double ace play at any point if I want. So because I at least have one option, I'm okay with going ahead and pitching those for the really strong damage, especially since he didn't face down. We did finally pull a dragon form here, and we have a lot of dragon form damage. It does come in the form of 3 kings, but to kind of throw all 3 of those kings, could really kind of confuse them. Like, it's not an option that they think that they're going to think that I'm going to throw all three right in a row. So I'm bound to get some damage out of that. So I go ahead and get right to that. Throw a king, grabs a throw, grabs a block. I mean, I'm just going to go right to it again. Be very aggressive. Snags a throw this time. We pull our second joker, which is good. I decided to take my foot off the gas from a king perspective, and because I had, but I did like the throw, because he hadn't shown me he wanted to attack yet. I have a way to get the aces back with my second joker, so I decided to kind of go for the throat and see if I could just kill him this turn. I didn't want to lose my dragon form, so I didn't want to use these options. But it was an attempt to kind of go for lethal here. Very aggressive on my part, but I have 83 life. I feel like it's okay to do that. If I wanted to be more conservative here, I could block to try to get back like one of these options, maybe the jack, since I have a K throw. And if you don't know, the dragon side of the attack is the jack attack is a 1-point starter. So I can basically do I could basically do Toxic Breath into Wrath of Earth, the double ace throw, attack, to do 29 damage, which also would have been a kill. So that may have been a more conservative line to take instead of just rolling it out there. And in fact, kind of looking at my hand and what happens if I just play Final Dragon Buster here is I'll be left with one ace and not very good options afterwards, where I'm really just stuck to have to block for something. So taking the aggressive line I don't dislike, but maybe after the two throws, being a little taking the foot off the gas a little bit maybe been the right idea. Now, I was saving this joker to pull up my aces, and again, what's the downside of this play means I'm willing to hold it instead of face down. It should have been very clear to me that a straight was coming, and I could have reduced some damage, get 2 cards. He still gets the ace, but I decided to hold it. So again, taking a more aggressive line ended up hurting my hand quality quite a bit and my options. So it could be a bad play, considered a bad play on my part. But I think it's more middling. It's just like, I just might as well go through the throat. I have time to kind of get things back. So I revealed the king on the positive spin. So our options next turn are fast throw or blodge to kind of beat his attack counter. But before we do that decision, we got to do a 2-truth decision. So we're left with giving him the queen or fast throw plus and or damage, or dodge, kind of a nothing card, or flagstone tax. Like, I'm not really afraid of flagstone tax. I'm not really afraid of that. This gives him one less positive spin option. Yeah, this might actually go for an ace, potentially, but I feel here giving the 3 cards is okay, because the 3 cards are not anything super special. And of course, there's the tax played for throw. So my options here are to play into the king straightly, or to block out a potential attack. I decide that he's hasn't shown me yet that he's not going to play a positive spin option, so I'm going to just play it straightforward. And it also puts him down into a very low hit point territory. and we hit with our king. So now a consent of the governed is definitely online. That's a second ace that he's pulled in. So that's something to keep in mind. This is pretty much just a kind of a prey joker. I could block here. And I actually think I like block here better than that. I understand that I was trying to go for use this to get back aces to get back something threatening, but I really don't need it here. He's at 7 life. Pretty much anything I do is strong. I might even considered a throw here. Turns out the block would have worked out just fine. But we get back the aces. It's not a bad play. Maybe it's not the most optimal play. And then I decided to go right for the ace. And either side would have won. I decided to go for the attack side, feeling that maybe he was, because I was in dragon form, his likelihood to dodge was kind of low, because it loses to the final dragon buster. And he might have been thinking that I might dodge into something like that. So it ends up working out. Basically, we just won all the combats for the most part. And it was really through our hand dictating our plays. So there was a couple little decisions there that I think were incorrect for me to make. I don't think Flagrant did anything wrong there on his end. I think it's just kind of the cards kind of played themselves in that particular situation. Next match. Okay. In this case, we're kind of left in a somewhat similar situation, although we have a lot more cards to play with. We have block, we have throw, we have a poke in case he decides to try to poke out a throw attempt. Pretty much I feel like a block is safe here. I'm not sure he's going to try to throw me right off the bat again, and even if he did, I don't care. I got plenty of other blocks behind. I'd rather not use 8 for blocks because 8's a really good follow-up from one of my throws. That's the best follow-up, really, other than Jack Plus. So and then we go ahead and block again because our hand quality is not great. We have 2 dodges that really aren't useful. And 9 throw is just terrible. We pick up a queen. That's good if I want to try to beat. We now have a fast option attack. I'd rather save it for later, where I can use it in its dragon form. So with that in mind, I decide to block again. So both of us, I'm assuming, are kind of like, not great hand quality. So might as well continue to block and wait till one of us flinches. I went for the 4 there, thinking he would probably attack, and I was willing to kind of use that instead of my queen. Because even if he blocked, I still get the normal draw off of it, being able to cycle out a card. The only reason I don't like this play is that 4 is my only throw. So I feel like if I'm reading throw in this case, I should probably throw. Which is what I was reading. I think it's the better option. And it gets to use the damage in my hand. I feel like that's the optimal thing. But even then, like, I'm not in love with it. I can maybe just block again if I wasn't really the... Because the only throw I have at that point now is just the king. So I think maybe saving that option is better. But I need to start protecting my blocks because all I've done is just down back the entire time. So, and we get to block out a Patriot mirror, which unfortunately still means that he gets to do the Patriot mirror, putting 2 cards down. I'm not ready to power up yet. We have a turn. And we draw an ace for our troubles. Flagstone tax, attack. So with Patriot Mirror, normally I don't get any kind of insight on what kind of mix-up he's thinking about. With the Flagstone tax, now I do. So, and this might just not me understanding Quince decisions, why they would play a Flagstone tax there, but I feel like that just gives me information. That at least he's thinking on the line of, I don't want you playing an attack. I want to disincentivize you playing attack. In this case, I feel like playing attack is the right move because he has 11 cards in hand. Giving in 2 cards is not exactly a big deal. He's already got a big hand, so what's the problem here? The other thing is too, before we kind of finish this up. Okay, so if I play an attack, what options will beat his attack? Beat attack for him? Well, basically him playing a throw attack. 2 cards. Playing a throw on one side, playing attack on the other side. I don't think, and again, this is where you can make mistakes against Quince because he puts you in this situation with like, I gotta think about all these things. So I think here he's looking to disincentivize attacks. I feel like the correct move would be, I'm obliged to play an attack here to, make him, again, punish me for playing an attack by playing something that's going to beat an attack. I instead here decide to go for a dodge. And I think a dodge here, basically, I feel like maybe he's going to attack dodge, attack block. I actually think that a dodge here is actually the worst option for me to play. Obviously, it mixed me up in some ways. But I'm thinking about it now, this dodge is the worst thing for me to play. And the reason is there's no 2 options you can play that a dodge beats. Only thing I can do is go even. And what I mean by that, if he plays a throw on either one of the cards he plays, I lose. So if he doesn't play throw, what is his other options? Well, it's attack or dodge. And he could just choose the dodge, so we both lose our dodges. And I have less dodges, so it's just a bad play all around. If I just wanted to block it out against a attack block/dodge option, I should just block here and save my dodges. My dodges are more my dodges should be used in instances where I can try to actually get damage. And here, a dodge gives me no damage whatsoever. I can only lose. So this is a bad play. I should have gone with what I was saying before about really an attack is probably the correct option. It would have been wrong here to be able to dodge, but that's fine. I'm obliged to play a face down here. I have a lot of cards. There's no reason not to. Prevents him from following up. Because he's got a lot of cards, he could definitely follow up. So that was a lot to talk about just for one decision. And again, this is where Quince really shines, because you think about all of these things and you're bound to get something wrong. He shows the positive spin. We do have a fast throw option. He has yet to not show me a positive spin yet. And I think here is where I go, he hasn't done that yet. I should probably block here. Plus I'm on my back. But I play attack. Why would I play an attack there? He plays the king. So his other option, instead of playing the king, is to attack, and I can play a faster attack. I also have a glimpse in hand. Glimpse of the Dragon allows me to rotate my my cards to the dragon side, so it allows me to play a dragon attack when I'm not in dragon form. And playing this, flipping it, and then playing into 8 is 22 damage. It's pretty significant. So I decide here he's going to play an attack. I'm going to play something that beats his attack side. Turns out I was correct. I did not play the king. So my timing was good there. I go ahead and switch it. And he decides not to face down, so I get to do the full damage I had in hand. We now have Dragon Form. We have a couple of good. We have basically all our Dragon Form options, with the exception of Final Dragon Buster. So there's no reason not to Dragon Form here. It'll also give us the opportunity to possibly recurse this Queen. If you block during Dragon Form, if you don't know how it works, if I block during Dragon Form, I can get a card from my discard pile that's a non-Joker card. Instead of drawing a card, I can just choose one. The other thing about Dragon attacks that's important to note that you can't be dodged by normal dodges. Quince gets around this because both his Jack and his King has dodges, so he can still use those as dodges against my attacks. But it does make him use up his face cards. I go ahead and go for the Queen. Really, I feel like any of the Dragon options are good here. If I play an attack, I'm forcing him to use his face dodges. If I play a throw here, pretty much beats anything but an attack. And he's really disincentivized to playing attacks because my attacks are way stronger. So any of those options I feel is pretty good. The only option that maybe wouldn't been great out of the 3 Dragon cards is the Toxic Breath, because I don't have any good follow-up. I could follow up with an 8, but it doesn't really use it fully, so I don't mind using the Queen here if I wanted to attack. Throw might have been the best one if I wanted to press the advantage to kind of save the Queen for a better spot. But I'm also looking at a potential to try to recurse it, so. And here we go with the block to try to recurse. We're successful, but we do take a Patriot Mirror. Obviously, I could have played my Jack against that, but I'm all right with this play. It gets back a Queen. It's a fast attack option. And now I have to deal with Patriot Mirror and a 2 truce setup. It was kind of not a great 2 truce. No face cards. And I actually give him back a 2 truce instead of 3 cards. These are probably his, given what's there, probably his 3 best card pile. And you can't really put 2 trues and Flagstone Tax on the same pile, because obviously I'm not going to give him that. I guess I think at this point, he has no good 2 trues targets, so might as well just give him the 2 trues. It's a dead card in hand, unless, you know, unless he just does it again. Because, again, his options in his graveyard is pretty bad. I mean, it's not bad. He's got the, again, he can go for 10-7-4, but anyway. So now I got to face the Patriot Mirror. My options here are... So I feel like he's going to throw an attack. Give me a throw to try to get me out of Dragon Mirror. Our Dragon form. I feel like a King throw is good here because it beats his throw option, and if he decides to dodge a potential attack option to beat his throw side, it beats that option too. Instead, I decide to go with Joker. I think that's a mistake. Seeing a King is pretty much beats his best options in this situation. I should have thrown the King. And it definitely would have worked. And this is not even a hindsight thing. It's just, if I take time to think about it, that's the best play. And instead, I get a Joker blocked. And honestly, I feel like this was a Joker because I have both Jokers. I'm not sure how he's going to play it. You know, I didn't take the time to think about it in the moment. It's hard to do that basically on both timer and also, you know, when you're middle playing Quince. You have to make so many decisions. Eventually, you kind of go into overload and you just kind of have to slough it off somehow. And that was a turn where I was just like, you know what, I really don't want to think about this. I'm just going to Joker and hope it works. which obviously is incorrect. This is where Quince gets you. So, and he definitely got me there. Play the king one turn too late, but it does end up working out. Again, he's got to use his face cards in order to beat my attacks. In order to dodge, otherwise he's just obliged to attack, and he knows it's gonna be not attack but block, and he knows I still have that queen in hand. So finally he does dodge. Here is another interesting time to burst. Like, I know he's gonna play something because he has to at least play a throw, because the throw doesn't have to knock down. He could have played a queen here. And maybe that's what I was thinking, just to kind of avoid some queen damage. His queen actually does some significant damage. It does 17 if he pumps it all the way up to the queen plus, and that's definitely something that he could have played here. So I was looking for save damage, but I have 77 life. There's no reason to save damage. I'm gonna lose the dragon form anyway, so I feel like keeping it would have been better. I'm not discounting a face down to disincentivize the queen being played, but I should have bluffed instead of actually playing it. And it will actually come into play in the remainder of this match. So now we're in gotta wake up. Because it didn't do any damage, though, it did stop a positive spin. So it's just kind of a normal wake up. In normal wake up situations, I'm just going to play the fastest thing I have, I think, in this case. He reads it correctly, and he dodges it. And I get bopped for 12. Which, by the way, unless he drew the queen that previous turn, he actually did have the queen in hand. So I might have saved myself some damage there initially, but I still think it was incorrect. Like a normal just bluff face down, I think, would have disincentivized that. Shows K-spin. I do have throws. Getting the taxes. Now 2 truths comes out now that he actually has some face cards to return. I feel like... Can you get back? No, it has to be 3 through king. So you can't get 2 truths back. I don't know if it's an overvalue of Flagstone tax against kind of the way I've been playing Flagstone tax, or not a better option on the board. Like, maybe the 4 is a better option. I don't know. But picking up more Flagstone taxes against me doesn't actually do much, because I'm not... I'm going to play into them. So maybe I draw some cards and get some more sifting. I guess it's fine there. That was an interesting pile setup. So basically he said, you're either going to give me... It's basically the only piles he could make, I think, in this particular situation. I'm not going to give him 2 face cards, but he should definitely set up so he gets at least one of them. So... And you might as well get the extra card out of it, too. So here I decide to throw. We've gotten tricky in the last couple of positive spins, so I thought maybe he'd go straight. He decided not to, which makes sense because he has a straight in hand plus some good damage, so... Basically just reading the situation, just missing on a positive spin. You can't get too worried about missing those, so you're going to. So read it wrong, just have to move on. As a king, Blackstone tax. I throw again, and for the 3rd time, he decides not to play it normal. very interesting way he's been playing it. He went for the third, I think the 3 in a row positive spin, not playing it straight up. That feels fairly rare. So again, I don't mind getting hit here. Obviously, it stinks for me because now I'm down to 9 life, and I'm looking in a very disadvantaged position. But that's just going to happen sometimes against Quince. You're going to lose matches occasionally where you're just not going to. It's just not going to happen for you. I power up for the ace here because I actually still have kill on deck. I can play a jack, spin it, a glimpse, and play ace as a follow up as long as he doesn't have the joker. With how many cards at the beginning, he probably does have a joker. But it's one of those things I just have to play for. And I actually really like the J reveal here because against the J reveal, I can't really get off damage unless he doesn't play the J. So I'm obliged to not play the positive spin, being at only 1 life and 9 life. And he can play a J here. Really, my only option against a J is to block. I'll take chip damage, which isn't great for me at being only at 9 life. And with 3 aces in hand, he can basically just chip me out from that point forward. So I was in a situation where I wasn't winning that game once I got down to 9 life. Really good game by Flagrant there. Really, went for the 3 in a row disrespect, and it definitely worked out. The thing you have to realize too, while you do have to keep in mind when he's done those options and shown his willingness to do it, you can't let that affect you. You have to play each positive spin on their own. Play until they're willing to show you they're willing to disrespect and not play it. But after they do that, then you have to think about it. But don't okay, he did it 3 times in a row here in the last game. I bet you this game he's going to still disrespect a lot more until I show him that I'm doing. You can't look at it that way. Each situation is very different. I'm not saying not looking to that, but don't get in a situation where you overthink it, because that's when Quince is just gonna beat you. I block for the 3rd game in a row. He decides to throw me for the 2nd time out of 3. Again, these opening throws I'm not too worried about. I don't really have much I can do other than block there. I don't have even a throw I can play, so I have to block because I'm not going to use up one of these dragon forms this early just to throw. So my blocks are pretty unprotected right now. He does a Q. I have to fast attack in order to beat it. So my 5 was my fastest attack. We get it blocked. We also lose our only good throw in this situation. So our hand is pretty bad, but our top deck kind of fixes that for us. So we at least have a decent throw option. And I decided to use it right away. And it was right. He was showing a very aggressive line. And I think in the early game, he's going to be more apt to throw to try to not allow me to build cards. I want to go back to that real quick because I think that's a wrong decision. He's more apt to try to keep me on a lower hand because once I start getting cards, I get good options, and also I'll have access to more dragon cards. So I can use, get in the dragon form. So keeping Midori on a lower hand when he's stuck there is not a bad idea. Here, given the fact that really this 8 block is the best block I have, because obviously I don't want to use these dragon forms up in that way, I'm obliged not to follow this up, but I did it anyway. That was kind of a little bit of mental fatigue, I think, on my part. I just went through a match where, he really set me for a loop with some of his decisions on the positive spins. And again, like I was saying, you gotta take a moment, take a breath, recenter, and make good decisions, because Quince is really going to punish you for that. And I feel like that was a bad decision on my part. Now I have no blocks. So now I'm in a situation where I have to block with a dragon form, and I'm going to get it thrown here. So I'm definitely punished by making that previous play. But Flagrant been very, very aggressive. Basically been throw, block, throw, throw, I think. If I'm not mistaken. Really trying to keep my hand size down. Goes for positive spin. Blackstone tax block. I decide here he's going to continue his aggression and not allow me to just block, as he's been trying to keep me down from hand size, and I was wrong. So I was looking at this before, and this was an interesting take to use this side. I figured that if he was thinking I was going to block, he would play the dodge side first to get the most maximum value, where he'd spin it to get the chip damage on the block and get the draw, all this other stuff. But he decided to play this side, and I think this was a read on his part. I was thinking about this earlier, and I was trying to remember how I read the situation. And I can't actually remember now. So why would he play this side? Green, I would attack. Why would I attack? Okay, let's kind of go back to the situation here. Let's because attack is, sorry, that's where I was screwing up. My options is to attack against his throw, and I decided to undercut his throw. So I think that's what he was going for, is to spin into dodge against an attack, because I didn't decide to block, and he ended up playing it straight up. He did end up losing a card out of the deal, because I don't think he was thinking I was going to undercut him. Try to undercut his throw, so he ends up not getting the bonus draw off of that, but still winning the combat. We're still in that situation where I'm kind of incentivized to block. I decided to instead attack, and successfully sussed out the fact that he was going to, again, try to keep me off a low hand. So he's playing this very aggressively, trying to really keep my hand diminished. But I've been able to kind of go half and half with him and keep our life totals together. He tries to bonk me for a throw. I bonk him instead with a flipped Q. This is a very aggressive line I'm taking here. Really keeping my options down. So I've done this twice. I'm kind of matching aggression with aggression. The only thing is that I'm doing by taking this line is I'm really punishing my hand. Like, I'm playing into his style of being aggressive to kind of limit my hand draw options, and I'm obliging that, but I'm doing so in a way that's also costing him damage in the process. So I'm not really sure who comes out on top in this situation, really. But again, given the hand, the way my hand is, I don't think the queen's the correct play. Even though he's been very aggressive in throwing, he's gonna run out. I mean, look at all these throws he's played already. I think I have to block here. I think a block is the correct thing. My hand is not great. I need to look for more options. I need to look for a better block. I need to... The only other thing I could consider here is going into dragon form if I was going to go ahead and do a Q. I still have no follow-up for it if I want to keep this block. But yeah, I feel like this combat is just wrong all around on my end. It ends up working out, but it doesn't mean it's correct. Yeah, I should have blocked here. And if I was going to play the queen, I'm not even sure spinning it was a good idea. Just hit him for 10 and move on. But because I played the queen, I feel incentivized to flip it and to get maximum damage I have available in my hand. Our deck bails us out, though. We get a block. So obviously my play was right all along. Sarcasm. We get this for 2 truths. Oops, sorry, it actually wasn't done. Did we really just switch 7 with 7? That's kind of funny. Okay. Anyway. I give him the smaller pile. And Jack is also a little bit annoying to deal with, given the way he's been playing it, so. However, it might have been better given my hand to play, given the Jack, because my hand can't deal with a queen, a revealed queen right now. So I think maybe even that pile give it was wrong. We block because we have really no options. Here we throw to protect our block. It's right. I mean, we still have, worst case scenario, an option against a revealed king in the dragon form too. But we get a different block, so I'm going to start using that instead. He decides that I might go for a cross up here, so he tries to undercut my cross up. I'm able to block out the Patriot mirror. But again, now I'm dealing with the Patriot mirror turn. But he instead decides to take positive spin and reveal Jack. The Jack reveal has been working for him this game so far, but I think in this case I'm now starting to get cards, so I don't think he can really use it into his advantage for me not to build a hand. And basically I give him the pile that doesn't have face cards in it. I decide to block it out though, play it normal. He decides to play it normal. He spins it so I don't get the card, but he also doesn't get a positive spin in return. Which could be an indication that he doesn't have any face cards. Like, even though he's got 12 cards, none of them are faces, or none of them are the faces he wants to see. So that's potential. I think he may actually have a queen I gave him earlier. In fact, I know he still has a queen that I gave him earlier, so I know there's at least one face card in there. We dodge. I don't know what I'm dodging into here. Again, given my hand quality, my dodges so far have been very suspect. Like, what am I dodging into here? Like, I have nothing to dodge into. This dodge is completely wrong. This should just be a block. If I'm thinking attack, I should just be blocking. Instead, I lose a dodge for no reason. So that was just a bad play. We throw here again to protect our blocking line, and he calls it out. This is a situation where the indication bin is whenever he's played 5, he's got a straight. So I'm gonna go save some damage here. And it was correct. He gets his ace, but I don't take any more damage. And I get 2 cards that are important because my hand quality has been pretty bad. I don't dislike my throw there. And the timing was just bad because he had the straight. He's shown that when he has straight, he plays straight. If there's a potential for me to play a throw, which it was, given that I'm on a kind of a block throw line right now. Positive spins queen. It's important to note that our 7s, my 7 will clash to his queen, so I have no queen option here. I literally I still have yet to draw anything. That's a queen I gave him several turns ago that I still had no options with. So, oop, sorry, that went really fast. It kind of went forward on me. So again, if we look at our options against the queen, our options are he's going to either play queen or dodge. And I play a dodge here, which is just absolutely wrong. If I'm going to play against the mix-up properly, a throw would be my option here. So I don't know why I dodged here. This was just a bad play. I think I'm a little flustered here because of how poor my hand has been, and we've gone through more than half of my deck, and this is the only face cards I've seen. I've seen 2 face cards the entire game. One thing I could have thought of doing was represent a dragon form and just try to block to get these back. It was an option that I could use, and I didn't go for it. Another thing is too, as I could dragon form and power up these 7s to represent a lethal final dragon buster. Like I have all aces, and I go ahead and do that. Start with the 7s. He positive spins. That I now have an attack that beats that. I have 3 dragon forms. I need to put it out there. So now I got to put it in his head that I'm willing to do my final dragon. However, I decide to try to block to beat nothing. Again, that was just a wrong play. So that was a weird choice to block there. I guess it gets rid of his dodge if you decide to dodge. I wasn't really to play final dragon buster, so I guess that's the only thing I could have done to keep dragon form. I decided the final dragon buster here. I'm not sure why. I don't have lethal. Sure, powered up to 2 glimpses because I can get right back in dragon form anytime to have the potential for lethal. So this is suboptimal, but it worked out. He plays face down. I'm obliged to, because it represents a lethal, I'm obliged to respect it. Bad news from him is I actually didn't have lethal, so there was no way I was on any face down I was ever going to not just say, okay, yeah, I reveal it. So very questionable plays for me in this game 3. The questionable plays are working out, but that doesn't mean that I played it well. In fact, you know, looking back at this game, I kind of botched in a lot of different ways. He's playing very dodgy. Obviously, he's been saving his. It turns out he's been saving his face cards, face dodges, specifically for this moment for dragon form, and he's continuing to use them. He decides to bonk me out. I could pop myself out of dragon form. Not really sure why I threw there. I'm also not sure why I didn't power up for the ace using the glimpse to at least have that. So, I don't know. Kind of playing very weirdly here. He's representing some decent damage, so I have to respect it. And he ended up playing a lot of damage. And I block all of it. I think that was like 24 damage that went away. I would have been at 12. Unfortunately, I don't have kill in hand. But I have fast attacks. So go ahead and play that. I get dodged. Doesn't play it straightforwardly. I get dodged into 30. Really good setup on his part. Unfortunately, it doesn't kill, and he's left on 2 cards. So his options are very limited in his hand, too. He does have a positive spin. A dragon form. So now his regular dodges don't work anymore. So, and given the fact he's only got 3 cards and he's shown a queen as one of them, he's gone through all 4 jacks. The only thing he can dodge with now is a king. And while he could actually have them because he's only got 18 cards left in his deck, I have to play for my best opportunity here, and that's to not get dodged. And so that happens. So that's the way I play it. I play for lethal. He doesn't have the Joker. So my last turn there was pretty much like the only, I'd say, perfect play I made. He shows me Q. He shows me Q on a positive spin. I gotta limit his dodge options. So I gotta go in the dragon form. And I have lethal while I'm in dragon form. So I gotta go for that angle. And if he doesn't have dodge, he's kinda gotta play the Q. You can play block, but which is fine. Because he plays block in this situation, then my aces become lethal too. So I mean, this is about the only play that I say was actually really, really good on this particular game. But I have a lot of suboptimal plays. I played 2 or 3 positive spins completely incorrectly by not sticking with the normal with this. Where I played some dodges in some really weird places that made no sense to play those dodges. So definitely a lot of mistakes on my part. I feel like I don't deserve to win that specific game. I feel like I won it just because of a little bit of matchup. Because of the fact that Midori is somewhat advantage is advantage in the matchup. So I felt like that's what pulled me through, not my play. Game 4. I have an interesting hand. We got 3 8s. We have a 6 as a block. We got a 5 as a throw. So we have our block throw, and we have our fast attack at jack. So we have an okay hand. It's not the best hand in the world, but it's a good hand. I decide enough's enough of this opening throw BS. I still get to draw with it, so it's fine. However, again, that now takes away one of my throws, but I'm bound to pick up one to play from block, so I don't dislike it. We draw a unusable ace. I feel like he's going to try to throw me because he's been showing a willingness to throw me early to kind of keep me off a hand and not let me hand build early. I also have a ton of 8s that I can just use. And I end up catching a block here. I didn't use the 8s. That's kind of an interesting... It's kind of an interesting play. I mean, I'm obviously using 8s for damage here. That's why I'm not powering him up, and I think that's fine this early on. But why not throw the damage there? I mean, my line is block throw right now, so I might as well get the damage in. There's no reason to take a knockdown here. So that was not correct. I should definitely used one of the 8s there. We block. Like I said, our line right now is block throw to kind of build a hand when we take a Patriot mirror. He decides to go with positive spin instead. Plays a queen. I decide to go with fast attack. He's going to play it straight up. He decides to use it as a way to block and make me use one of my options. So I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Decide not to dodge into anything. I go ahead and block, because like I said, I'm on a throw block line to try to build a hand, to try to find something good. We do find a second ace, so now we have silent aces online for 20. And now we also found the queen. So we're actually starting to find some good cards here. If we have a dragon form to come up, we have a full final dragon buster by trading in these 8s. But we don't have the dragon form, so we got to play with the way that we have it, I feel. So instead of trying to waiting for dragon form, I do hit a throw, again continuing with my block throw line. So I decide to get into damage, and I don't think that's necessarily wrong at this point. And then he powers up 4 7s for 3 aces. That's pretty crazy. So he's got a 30 damage consent ready for me, which, you know, means now he controls the fast attacks with the exception of me playing a Q, which I do have, and I do have a glimpse to play it. I decide he's going to play like a dodge into it or something like that. And I decide to throw him. It's still within my block dodge. Excuse me, my block throw line. I mean, I really have not deviated from that at all. You know, looking for like a dragon form or something like that. And I continue, and finally he throws me. So he gets to get some offense going here. We do have a fast attack. We have 2 of them, actually. But he plays a throw mix-up. And we got lucky, because before that, we did not have a way to beat the throw mix-up. We kind of made our hand in such a way that that didn't exist. But we do have it. We do play it. And he decided to bonk me instead. I play face down. Can consent. Yeah, I think he was looking to kind of either basically mix me up and like do a cross up normal, and also mix me up on the king. But I had to play a face down there because 30 could have come right at my face, and he decides to not take the chance. He shows the king again. This time we don't have a side to play against this throw. We literally have no throws available, and we can't spin aces with glimpse. So our only option here is to beat an attack. And this is when the most unfortunate of unfortunate events happen. Clearly this was not what they intended. As it happens, he gets whacked for 22 because of it, putting him in a very dangerous life total. And then we get the message, oh, my finger slipped. I have no doubt in my mind, especially he was playing with an ordered hand, that that he was going to play the king straight up, and it would have been fine for him. Again, like I said, I had nothing for the king to be able to play. It's a very unfortunate event. It really sucks when that happens. And I feel like that was probably the turning point in this match. I mean, I did have a good life lead, but that can drain. But he took it in stride. Like, kudos to him. He's just like, yeah, it happens. So now we're in a position here where we have lethal in hand. We can spin our J into ace-ace. If it hits, might as well go for it. And he decides to play the 30 straight up this time. So not much we can do there. And I'm not going to face down because I like all my cards in the hand, and it's okay. Now that threat's gone, so he's got to be a little bit more. He's got to find his damage in a lot more difficult ways. So, still got a decent life lead here. Place the king straight up. I have the ability to beat it properly, so I go ahead and just go straight up. I don't really have a follow-up. Now we have 3 aces, which is no good to us because we can't dragon form. Really, I don't have much here. All I have is attack, joker. That's it. Or dodge. So I just decided to take the attack angle. And if I'm going to attack, I might as well attack for lethal. And he bursts me. If we dodged, there's a potential we would have won there. That happens. We could power up into an ace. And hope our top deck gives us an option, but I really didn't feel comfortable for that. And we get probably the worst card in our deck at that point. We already have dodges. We just need some gas, and we got like the worst card. We have to deal with the 2 trues. Obviously, the 10s are going to go on opposite sides. Do I give him the 2 trues, or do I give him the king? I decided to give him the 2 trues. Basically, 2 trues to the 2 trues still works in my favor when... it doesn't work in my favor. Either way, he's only going to get 1 face card out of it in that situation. So, I think either choice is fine. Might as well give him less cards. He dodges my joker, because I decided the joker after his joker. And I have to deal with a Patriot mirror. Powers up. What's interesting is he gets the power up first before he has to make a Patriot mirror choice. So plays in the 2 truce I gave him last turn. Kind of a meh. I decided to give him the king. I can beat it in my hand. Whereas the jack I actually cannot. I have no dodge option here. The only option I have is to attack. So I do that. And turns out I kind of a dodge a bullet a little bit there. However, it does put him in range now of a Talon Swoop. And then I power up for aces. What is my 10s? It's like, what am I doing here? I don't think this was a turn to do that because a Talon Swoop would have worked. I could have glimpsed into it, and you can't stop that if I hit with it. This is incorrect. I could understand trying to give myself an attack option, a fast attack option, I guess. But I don't know why I didn't do that sooner. Really, I didn't have any good things to do. But since the Talon Swoop was already there, I should have stayed with that. Decided to try to dodge into the 20 since I went that line. And the Talon Swoop would have won. Here I decided to block. And I get rid of one of his dodges. We decided to go for 20 here. And we clash, which is good enough. The end of that was pretty hinky. Powering up there was a mistake. we still had a kill in hand with the Glimpse King, and it was a legitimate play to make. He probably wouldn't have dodged so much if I hadn't shown grabbing another ace to like basically say, yes, I have 2 aces in hand, so I have an attack that you need to dodge. So I kind of get it from that standpoint. So the end there was kind of a mistake filled. Plus, we had poor card quality for whatever reason, and actually throughout my matches, I had kind of poor card quality a lot through a couple of the games, but I also did that to myself in a lot of the games because of the decision I made. So I don't necessarily feel I was undeserving of the 4th game win like I did with game 3. Game 3, I definitely feel like I should have lost by the way I played it, and I felt like the character just pulled me out of it, and that's going to happen in matchups when you're advantaged. I don't really feel I made too many mistakes in game 4 other than just kind of at the end there. I think especially when I had a card that killed, I didn't need to draw an ace. I kind of represented that I had all 4 aces earlier on by setting up that Final Dragon Buster setup that I did earlier. So I think it's fine. Oh no, that wasn't this game. That was the previous game. Sorry, that was incorrect thing. My bad. Anyways, at this point, I'm not entirely unhappy with my play, but I definitely made some significant mistakes in the matchup, and I think that's just going to happen when you play against Quince. You're going to get kind of confuzzled and confused, and that's just what happens when you play a long set against them. So especially on medium timer, sometimes it's difficult to get the time you need. You just don't, like on the more straightforward plays, don't take a lot of time. Just play it. Don't and conserve your time. And keep your time available for those moments where it's like, okay, I really need to think this one out. So, try to do that. And and when you take up a lot of time, think about finding ways to conserve it, so you can, on those big moments, you can take your time and think things through. So, especially against Quince. So that's the match. That's how things went. Definitely felt like I played this better than my previous match overall. I also found a character I think that just plays to my mentality a little bit better. So I'm pretty happy about that. So yeah, thanks to Flagrant for a great match. Playing against Quince is probably like one of the funnest matchups though in Yomi. I feel like, because of all the decisions you get to make and all the things, like you're really not only playing against the character, but it forces you to play against the opponent, which I think is where the games are at its best. And Quince is just like, you have to play against the opponent. You just don't have a choice. So that's one of the reasons I like playing the matchup. And you got to find a way to find joy in playing this matchup. Otherwise, it's very miserable. Doesn't matter what matchup you have. So, all right, thanks everyone. I appreciate it. And I'll see you for the next one.